What's up, my fellow plant lovers? I'm here with one of my favorite plants for the holiday season. It's December here in Bogota, Colombia, and just like in America, North America, they have cyclamen out and about for the winter gardens. And I wanted to do a video showing how to take care of the cyclamens the best way possible to get the most beauty out of these delicate, lovely, vivid flowers. You can see why I love them. The color is unreal. Not only is the foliage incredibly beautiful with that silvery, lacy goodness, but the flowers can remain in bloom for 3-4 months with the proper care. But many times I see gardeners struggle with these plants, and after a few days even, they can be kind of like wilted down to nothing. And I wanted to go through all of the care tips for the cyclamen. This is the florist cyclamen, Cyclamen persicum, which is the most common style of cyclamen that you'll find at garden centers, maybe at your grocery stores, wherever. And it is typically an indoor plant during the holiday season. But there's a few things that you really need to understand about the cyclamen in order to get the most out of this plant. First and foremost, this is not like, you can see we have some of our other holiday plants over here. We have our philodendron decorated with little ornaments, our anthurium, and of course the poinsettia. And I bring up the poinsettia because many gardeners think that they die after Christmas. The plants die. Not the case. And you can see my other video, click the link up there to watch all of my poinsettia care tips as well to get the most out of your poinsettia. The cyclamen is very similar in the sense that it doesn't just die after the holidays, although a lot of gardeners think it does. This is a perennial, but unlike our summer blooming plants like our daylilies, our black-eyed Susans, all of our favorite plants that we have blooming in the garden in the summertime that go dormant in the winter time. Right now, those plants are out in the garden and they look like nothing. They look dead. Well, the cyclamen has that same pattern, but at a different time of the year. Right now is when it is blooming and when it is growing, and then in the summertime it actually goes dormant. So the Cyclamen persicum, if you know anything about Latin names, the second name generally will give you some sort of clue as to, maybe a feature about that plant, where it comes from, who discovered it, something like that. In the case of the Cyclamen persicum like this, persicum signifies that it came from that area kind of around Persia. I'm talking like the Mediterranean. Think Greece, Italy, all of those regions around the Mediterranean. And that is where these plants are native to. There's even documents of Plato speaking about cyclamen back in 4000 BC. So, okay, jog our minds, the Mediterranean, what is the climate like there? Well, let's start with the blooming season. During the winter months in the Mediterranean, if you've ever been there, they'll get, various rainfalls pretty regularly, but the temperatures never really dip below 55 degrees or maybe 45 degrees. And then in the summertime, it's long, sunny conditions with zero rain. That is the conditions that these plants need. So the first tip that you need to think about when you're growing your cyclamen indoors is they need to remain moist. They like to remain moist, but not soggy. The soils in those Mediterranean climates are very, very free draining, meaning the rain falls, it cycles through the earth, and then it just goes into the groundwater below. So we need to think about similar conditions for that. You can see right now I have the soil which is quite dry, and it's too dry. It needs to be watered. But rather than just dumping a bunch of water on it, I like to water it a little bit almost every single day to keep it moist but not soggy, because cyclamen, they are a tuberous plant, and if you give it too much water, it can actually rot out that tuber. Okay, so that's the first tip, is they need to stay moist, not soggy, but they don't like to go dry. If you've ever had your cyclamen get very wilty, It's because they got too dry or because they got too warm. So the next point to think about: in the Mediterranean, outside in the wintertime, the temperatures have a very kind of narrow window, kind of around between, let's say between 45 and like 60 degrees, 65 degrees at the max. Inside the home, you need to keep these in a cool location. If you have these in your family room where you have a fire going, where you have the furnace going, where you have all these sources of heat, these are not going to like that. They're going to lose their flowers quickly. They're going to get wilted, and you're going to say, oh, it's December 26th, Christmas is over, my cyclamen's dead, and we throw it away. No, if you keep these in a cool location, like the coldest room in your home, between like 50 and 60 degrees, that's how you're going to get the most beauty for the longest time. These can be quite resilient. I accidentally put mine in too warm of a location one day and it got totally wilted, and I gave it some water and then it pumped back up after a couple of hours. So, but you can avoid that. You don't want to do that because the more stress that you give your plant, the shorter its lifespan will be. As little stress as possible, just like we want as little stress, these want as little stress too. So, keep it in a cool location that has a bright sunny window. It's kind of a tricky plant. You have to give it a cool room that has a bright sunny window because these do like a lot of light. And in those conditions, that's when you can get these flowers to remain looking the most beautiful, the longest. You can see I have flowers here, but then I have all these beautiful buds. So how do I encourage these beautiful buds to start to open up more readily? Well, the key to doing that is to remove the old flowers that have already finished. You can see the difference. This beautiful cyclamen flower versus this one right here, it's starting to fall back down and lose its uprightness. So that is a cue to me that this flower has finished. Both of these have finished actually. So I'm going to take my scissors, I'm going to travel down, and I'm going to cut it off right there. That one is gone, and so is that one. So I will remove those. Some people say that they're fragrant. They have kind of like a petally fragrance, but they're not very fragrant, in my opinion. So basically, if you have it in a room that's too warm, they're going to lose their flowers a lot faster. And it's also going to be a more challenge to keep them watered. So the first rule of thumb is keep them in a cool room. When it's in a cool room, if you can give it lots of good light, that's going to be even better. The more light, the more often you'll have to water it. The less light, the shorter the lifespan of the flowers, but also the less water that you'll need to give it because it's just not going to be using that water as readily. So what do you do after it has finished flowering? You do keeping the room cool with a lot of light and regular water. These can bloom November, December, January, February, probably into the end of February. And then once you get into March, that's kind of the signal, okay, spring is coming. That's when these start to go dormant. So what do you do when these go dormant? Okay, they'll start to lose their flowers. Likely the foliage will start to turn yellow, and they're not dying, they're just ready to go for their hibernation, for their little sleep for a few months. So what do? You take your scissors and you chop it back. And you let it be. You let it dry out. You try to emulate those conditions of the Mediterranean from the months of March to September, which means water almost never. Maybe water it a little bit once a month. You can put it outside in a sheltered, shady area, but that's all you have to do. And then when September rolls back around, give it some more water, and it's going to plump back up. It's going to grow leaves very rapidly. Cyclamen are a member of the primula family. Here I have another primula, and if you've ever grown things in the primulaceae, you can see kind of their resemblance. They're very similar with clusters of leaves around the base of the soil and then wonderful stems that shoot up with these flowers. Now, if you've ever grown things in the Primulaceae family, you know they're very, very fast growing plants. That's what I love about them. They'll grow very quickly. So if you continue to hold on to it until the next season, they will grow very quickly. You just have to make sure and keep it very dry from basically like March till September. And then you give it water, you wait to see some growth, and then you give it water again, and then within a few weeks you're gonna get flowers. It's really that easy. And if, you know, I have this in this beautiful painted pot that my girlfriend Samantha painted for me. It's very beautiful. I'm going to keep it in this, but if for one reason I wanted to transplant it into another larger pot, the season to do that is basically in that kind of like February, I would say that like March time frame, after it is finished flowering and it is finished for the season, when it has gone dormant. That is the time to pull it out and repot it. You can cut it back before you repot it, or you can repot it and then cut it back. Either way. And that's really kind of the tricks to keeping cyclamen looking beautiful from season to season. It's not an annual that just grows for a short period and then dies. No, this is really a true perennial, and they get more and more beautiful every single season. They take about 2 to 3 years to get to their full maximum potential. So hold on to it. Try growing it from season to season, and you'll be you will fall in love with the beautiful silvery foliage and the gorgeous flowers that remain in bloom for months. In the holiday home garden, indoor garden, there's really nothing that brings such brilliant colored flowers. And with everything I said, you can have yours looking beautiful season after season for months on end every single year. So anyways, I hope that was a little bit helpful, a little bit encouraging, and a little bit holiday cheery. Anyways, I will catch you guys later. Happy holidays.